being received. Want to first just so Daphne, our recording secretary, is no longer going to be assigned to support this committee. So I don't know too much enough about why or whatever or anything. I briefly had a conversation with her. So in the interim, I will probably take minutes. I'll start out taking minutes here. Maybe we'll rotate or something throughout the rest of this committee, which we can talk about. Probably will be sometime in the midsummer. But nonetheless, so just be aware. I know that Tyler was talking about, because I'm going to try to build the minutes from the tape. So with that being said, I'd like to do a roll call. So Rainey Hoyland, present. Tom Ryder, here. Lieutenant McGrath, here. Rebecca Tarantino, here. Donna Mullen, here. Barry McNeely, here. Gus Drusen, and Bob Chicolo, here. And we have Bob Wilson, our technical advisor, present, as well as Tyler is our staff support, also accounted for. So the minutes from, we're going to do two different motions because there were two different minutes for those that were here last month. The minutes weren't ready. So February 8th minutes. Has everyone gone through those minutes? Any questions, comments, concerns with regards to the content? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes from February 8th?
I can make a motion to approve those minutes.
Rebecca makes a motion to second. Okay, I got second. And discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the minutes to be accepted February 8th? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes. So March 8th minutes, which were also attached to the agenda packets. Anyone have gone through? That was a very short meeting. That was a 29-minute meeting. Yeah, that was actually a good meeting. Any comments, concerns with content, corrections? None. Do I hear a motion for acceptance of the minutes for February? Yeah, thank you. March 8th. Is there a motion for accepting? Or I'm sorry, motion to accept. So I'll make a motion. Thank Tom. Saying second? Second. That's perfect. All here. Any discussion on the matter? Hearing none. All in favor of accepting the minutes? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? One. You're abstaining. Okay, 2 abstentions. All right. Perfect. All right. So let's go to the agenda, and so we have done that. So let's talk the status report. And I know that yeah. Why don't we want to bring us to the status report?
Yeah. This is Bob Wilson calling. There's a couple of things on the status report. 2 from the February meeting. Presently on item number 5 on the February meeting from the status update, the traffic counts are out on Warren Street. The counters are there right now, and they'll be there until the end of the week. And we'll get some results probably next week or the week after, before the next meeting, certainly. Also, the DPW Highway Division has installed the LED speed limit sign on Mark Tree Road. That's item number 3 from February. Also, from the minutes of, I think I'm on March now. Hold on. I mean, I'm on January, sorry, the other way. The speed study on Hillside Avenue, that's item number 7 from January. That is presently underway as well. Okay. And again, we'll be done by the end of this week, and we'll probably have it for the next meeting as far as results. And beyond that, we have some issues to talk about with school zones and speed zones, but I think we'll wait later on a meeting for that. That's generally what I have for now.
Perfect. Anyone else that had questions with regard to some of our previous, anything on the status report?
I think the posts were installed at Hillside too.
They were, yes, I did see those, and that was actually well received. The half inch of snow that they received, and the contractor, the landlord had hired, was able to clean without any issues with cars. So It was well received. I think it was questioned about maybe before next season, another set of telephone poles, maybe to add some more.
Oh, further.
It was just, yeah. So, but it was well received. So
So make a point. I drove by yesterday, they were gone. They were cones.
further down there, Collins, I was there today. You'll see one segment up. You'll see the actual yellow poles with reflective tape. But today I did see cones on the left-hand side either. I don't know if that was construction activity or any.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Okay.
I don't know that.
Yeah, it seems- okay, fine.
Got it, yeah. So anything else on the status report? Any questions with regards to that? Okay,
Actually, I have one question.
yes.
Do we have any update on the light that's going on the crosswalk at, Maple?
I think, Tom,
Yeah.
you spoke about that, I think, last meeting. I think.
Yeah, last meeting, so, actually, Ryan and I have been talking about this too. We're looking at some, solar, connection possibilities. Our contractor is not gonna be, continuing with us. We're gonna put this back out to bid, for the future, so they're winding down their, what they do for us in town there, so we're gonna put that back out. Unfortunately.
So we can't add to that light until we have a new contractor.
Either that or we can find it'll be like a pilot. It'll be like a solar
Yeah.
light pilot.
Can we-
If we can make it work.
So can we do that?
We'd have to look into the funding opportunity and the ability to actually connect it, make sure that maybe it's something that we can ask Daigle if they have the ability to do something like that. Our contractor is not.
Yeah, our contractor is pretty skilled, with really good contract in place.
These are the lighting contractors?
Yes.
Okay.
Traffic signals, lighting.
Yeah, he's got the
Statewide.
miscellaneous, yeah.
Okay.
So I imagine they could easily, they have the skill sets to do it.
Okay.
We'll make sure we set it right too, because we don't want blind vehicles coming in, so we want to make, and it needs to have the right,
Right.
angle if we use a solar system, so. I'd like to get I'd like to take a look at, what other places have done this, just to make sure that it works.
Isn't there one in Wellesley? Or am I confusing Wellesley with another thing that Wellesley, I feel like Wellesley is always.
Well, that was we did the narrowing or the.
No, yeah, no, I knew that.
Yeah, they're the ones who identified some areas for me to look at, and I did, but it was not what we were looking for. They were like really high intensity and highlights. It was more for safety. It was more for like a safety, like prevention of vandalism, like
Security.
Yeah, security.
Okay.
Yeah, it was more for security, so.
All right, so we'll put that on the recurring status. We'll get an update on that.
It would be great if we could just have a timeline for when, I mean, now it's a little bit less of an issue just because it's getting darker later, fortunately, but I still feel like even in the summer, the pedestrian traffic's big, but at least it's darker later. So
Sure.
it's just by the time we get around to October, I think it's really important that that's in place.
Yes,
It's just so bad.
It gets really, yes,
Yeah.
that's, that crosswalk is, as we know, is a higher hazard crosswalk, so.
Yeah.
So if we can put that on
It's not only higher, there's something about the visibility as you're entering it that just makes it so bad. There's some, I don't know what it is, the positioning of the traffic, the lights that are there. There's something about the visibility entering that crosswalk heading west. West, yeah, west, right?
Going out,
West,
out. Okay.
Toward Wellesley,
Yeah.
so if it's possible to just get,
Heading west, are you talking about from on the right side or people coming from the left side?
anybody in the it's just very hard to see the crosswalk and therefore to see anyone in it when you're driving.
Westbound.
You know, I would say hyper cautious entering it as I'm driving into that crosswalk because I'm doing this.
It's also because eastbound has 2 lanes and it's harder to see the eastbound right-hand lane, somebody there because they could be occluded by a car and blocked. So, but yeah, so that I know that has been a visibility and sight issue with pedestrians. there, so that's why the emphasis on the light for during the daylight savings time changes. It's really bad there, but so we can we'll kind of keep this on this to see what we can to see if we can do this before it becomes daylight savings time again. So just from a safety perspective. So okay. Anything else? I didn't have anything. So at this point, I know that item number 4 is not here, so we'll move to excuse my I didn't bring my glasses. I believe it's Catherine Parnell.
That's me. And friend.
And
And friend and neighbor.
so you can sit there, you can sit, put in whatever you're comfortable with. I know it's kind
I'm
of
good here.
Or just sit.
I mean, I can see all of you here. First of all, thank you very much for providing this forum. It's really important for people in town to have an opportunity to talk about traffic issues. I don't think a lot of people know about this group, which is something that maybe, you know, you want to look into at some point. So my concern is, I'm Catherine Parnell and I live on the corner of Great Plain Avenue and Marshall Street. And I have several concerns that are also shared by neighbors, and they address 3 issues. The first is safety, the second is sort of accessibility, and the third is just parking. And as you can see in one of the pictures there, when people park on both sides of the street, the road narrows down to pretty much nothing. It's really hard to get through. Now, as far as safety, it's a very real safety concern because that's a school bus route. And so when people park like that, the school buses will come from Great Plain Avenue, take a right onto Marshall, and they oftentimes encounter difficulty getting down the road. They have to back up. These are school buses with kids in them, so it's a problem. Also, people don't park properly on either side of the road. As you can see, there's at one point, a woman was parked probably 2.5 feet out from what passes for a berm. And then the third issue, of course, which relates to, you know, safety and accessibility, is that parking issue. And so what I'm hoping for and what I'm an advocate for would be to restrict parking to one side of the street. Doesn't matter which side it is, just one side. Make sure that there's signage reflecting that. And then, of course, the enforcement would go alongside that. The other thing that would help a lot, and I know my neighbor will address this in a minute, is people come speeding down that street and they'll turn into one of the driveways and then they'll just go zipping over the berm. And they dig all of that up. Now, I don't know how much you care about appearance. I have to cut that grass, so I would prefer not to be cutting mud. That's one thing. I think the solution is signage and berms, curbs, so that the berms are clearly marked. Now, this is all going to be compounded by the fact that you can sort of see it in the background there, the condos that are going in, that are next to the Congregational Church. Once those condos go in, there will be visitors coming. And even though they say they have parking, there's not that much parking there. They're going to be parking on this street, or they're going to be parking on Great Plain Avenue. Highly unlikely that it's going to be Great Plain, because nobody wants to park on Great Plain. Traffic accidents are too much of an issue to deal with. The likelihood, and I've seen this with the contractors who are working over there, they park there, as do their trucks, and it is ripping up the road. So that's pretty much my presentation. Is there any information that I can provide?
Are there any parking signs on that street now?
There's a parking sign on the left-hand side. So if you see where the truck is, it's 2-hour parking Monday through Friday.
What's interesting about the sign, right
There you
there,
go.
Tyler, is it actually almost instructs people that they can park on both sides.
It does.
It actually says 2-hour parking both sides.
I
You
know.
have to back up, Tyler, it's the other way. It's right when you make the corner.
It's right
I
there.
believe this was as a result of people petitioned for it because of commuter rail parking.
Yeah, I've lived there for 30 years.
So I don't know the history, it predates me on TMAC, but maybe you would remember.
2015.
2015, so I think I joined in 2016. So, but So I think, there were petitioners that came because there were cars parking all day.
Yes.
And so
All the
therefore,
time, all the
and so
time.
they would just take a train and park there.
Yeah.
So one of the solutions was to do the 2-hour parking sign. So
Right.
this is.
Not news.
So.
It's a continuation.
Full circle, right.
Okay.
But yes, I do, to your point, Bob, it almost does invite somebody to park there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if I'm driving around looking for parking, that's actually inviting me in.
Yeah, exactly. So the other thing that I've been thinking about is because it is so problematic and people park so close to the curb, there really ought to be a setback. And I know the law, specifies what, 15 feet or something like that. It should be more like 40 feet. Why? So the school buses can get through
From the corner.
from the corner.
From the corner. Oh,
Yeah, the school buses can't get through.
Well, if nobody's parked there at all, then. if-
Highly unlikely. People are parked there.
Yeah, people are parked.
A lot.
Is there a sense of who the people are that are parking? Is it still taking the T?
No, it's not people who are taking tea. I don't know. I don't know who it is. But there are cars parked. I think they might be people who are with the church or maybe people walking into town.
Sorry, which house is yours? The one on the left?
The prayer flags,
What?
the one on the left,
Get on the left.
that one.
Can I add to what she's saying?
No, go for
Okay, so I live in an apartment, the second drive, you go down the street a little bit. That the CRV that's right there. So I live in the bottom half of the Victorian that's on the corner of Marshall and Great Plain. During the pandemic, she was in my bubble. So I would meet every 5 o'clock, we'd sit out on a porch. So I had this like bird's eye view. What used to happen was in that construction site, before it was a construction site, people would be coming down, turn around in the circle in front of the, next to the church, there was a little circle, and they would do a U-turn and go. Once that construction site became chained off, what happened was people were all of a sudden flying down, turning into one of our driveways and taking off. If there were cars parked close to Great Plain Avenue, all of a sudden there's a car and they're like jetting to the left to go around it. People were getting frustrated. I'm supposed to be able to turn around and I have seen situations where they've turned around really fast and it's a danger. Plus you have on this driveway where that tree is, it's really bumpy because roots have kind of bumped up the sidewalk. And there are a lot of children that live down here. And so they'll, get permission from their parents to come up on their bicycles and go maybe down to CVS and so they're in the middle of the road and somebody could come whipping around the corner. And if there's a car, it's just, I've seen so many close calls that, like, I don't care if people are parking in front of my house down that way, but I do believe that having a distance between Great Plain Avenue and, some space and having parking only on one side of the road would be a safer situation for the people that live, down that way. It's just, I've just watched it where I sit on a porch, I've got like the free view. And honestly, I've seen things that this close.
So, thank you.
And I don't know what the solution is.
Sure,
I
and
just know there's a problem and I guess
Yeah.
that's your job to figure out
No, no,
what the solution
so I
is.
want to kind of give the committee some time to actually talk about this, but what we have seen is when there's more space, there's more speed. When there's cars parked, there's actually, it's people are slower, and that's what's been found. People have actually parked their cars on narrow streets, almost slalom-like, and so therefore it's a traffic calming tool. If it was opened all the way, you're gonna take.
I'm not thinking it should be opened all the way. I'm just thinking as they're coming around that corner. Plus, if you scoot up back towards Great Plain Avenue, there's a driveway right at the
Yep.
corner. And I've seen, so Matt, who lives there, his daughter is driving and she'll back out. And it's like, then a car will come, flying around the corner. I don't know how you prohibit people from flying around the corner. I don't know that. But it's just, if there's a car parked here or there's a car parked on the other side, and oftentimes Scott's photograph demonstrated there are cars parked on both sides. It's really difficult to navigate. So I just,
No, hey, I know, I do want to open it up to the committee. I also want to say the parking prohibitions, like either way, we would want almost everyone on that street to sign and saying it's okay with removal parking. Because
To sign
to petition to say that it's okay to remove parking, because if we do recommend to the select board a regulatory change in parking, the overnight bylaws, which is that's what would happen. It would be no parking on this side of the street, so we're taking 50% of the current parking that's allowed on that street
but maybe
away.
just to a point.
So I'm just saying,
That's the scary thing. It's that corner.
Yes, so, and that's fine. That was one of the things that I was thinking of doing. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Let's kind of digest a little bit.
Okay.
So I do have one comment, if I
Yes.
could, Jim. There's no parking just by design, there's the curb and then there's the driveway. Whether or not people think it would help if, we see where the parking is allowed on both sides sign is.
Mhm.
Yes.
If there were a no parking here at a corner sign opposite it.
Ah.
So that
Yeah.
it would at least replicate
Free
that.
up
so
that
that-
area.
So that as you come around the corner, you have a chance to straighten the car out and see ahead of you before you're moving forward, as opposed to if there's parking there by where the storm drain is and where the Marshall Street sign, marking is on the photo. Then it seems like it forces them in tight against the driveway. Whereas if there's no parking allowed opposite the driveway there, then
That opens it up.
that opens
Right.
it up and lets them swing a little wider. Is that,
Yeah.
I'm not sure it slows anything down.
No, but I mean, it's just the access and children that are coming up and they're moving around the cars because they don't want to go in the park. It's just,
It's dangerous.
it's
Yesterday,
really
yeah,
dangerous.
yesterday, a pregnant woman who was trying to avoid the roots on the sidewalk, which is a whole other problem, but she came out in the street to get secure footing. A car came around the corner and nearly clocked her. This is a woman who's like 8 months pregnant. This is really a dangerous situation, and I worry about the kids, who,
There are a lot of kids.
there are
that
a
live
lot
down
of
there.
kids, and parents will tell their children one thing. We all know, most of us have raised children, right? You say no to a kid and they say, why not? And then we'll go and do it anyway. So, these kids somebody's gonna get hurt. I don't wanna have to call 911 about it. That's my real concern.
I mean, we really have watched we're still doing it after the pandemic, our 5 o'clock meetings. But the whole thing is that there have been a number of times when it's been a really close call.
Thanks.
So,
So that's all.
so what we would need to do is get a petition from people who live, or get a petition signed by people who live on Marshall Street, going down the street and over to Gage Street, or just Marshall?
Well, first, that was an observation, because I think on the written petition, you had said,
Oh, I don't think
down,
that's an
and then,
issue.
You had said, no parking on one side for a while down Marshall. I think that was.
That would be great.
And well, no, we would want to make sure that everyone on Marshall Street is aware that would be removed.
I think if you just did one,
So let's
side for
let
like
the
40
committee, I just
feet,
want to have the committee kind of talk, if they want to ask questions or ask questions about themselves, come up with what are our options here and what are the things that we can explore, so.
Sure. Are there any other questions that we could answer before we let you chat?
I've already made my comment.
well, thank you so much for listening.
Well, you can
to
do
us.
this, we're not saying.
Really-
we're
We're
not
not
done.
Oh, we're not done.
Oh,
Okay,
no.
we're not.
I just wanted to give everyone this.
Oh, I thought you wanted
No,
us
no,
to
no,
go
no,
so you
no.
could like chat.
No, no. We're gonna evoke section 8 of executive session next week. Go ahead.
Well, so my question is, I'm confused by at what point the parking problem is starting and at what point where geographically, where is it starting, where are people starting to park and where are they ending?
Yeah,
On this, just, you can leave it, Tyler, as it is. You can just point to me, where are they parking and where is it ending?
Okay, so on the right-hand side, where the parking really becomes a problem, on the right, going down Marshall Street, there's a tree there, you see it? That's where the parking problem starts. Now, on the left-hand side,
Before the tree, if they park before.
if
the
they park
tree.
before the tree, that's a
It's-
problem. On the left-hand side, probably like 3 fence sections down from the telephone pole. After that, park wherever you want, doesn't matter, but it's that access point, you know, that is the first 40, 50 feet when you come in on Marshall Street. And again, it's gonna get worse with the condo. Oops. Where's my phone?
Okay, so if that's the case, and it's not a concern of people parking here close to the corner on this left side. And it's just that, so it looks like it's just that little stretch.
It's both sides.
No, but you can't, the problem is they're parking on both sides, but you're not going to stop them from parking on both sides. Right?
Well, that's not my
But can't
decision.
you do something from Great Plain in, you know, for people that are coming up Marshall, that you can't park from here to Great Plain, like, you know?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if they're not parking up here anyway, and they seem to be parking down, they're making the decision, most people are making the decision to park in the right place on the.
Oh, no,
Oh, no,
they park,
they're not.
oh, no, they parked where that grid is. They park,
So they're parking
they park
elsewhere.
everywhere.
They park on the storm drain.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
So,
So all we're concerned about is that opening into Great Plain, that if somebody's coming down, you know, from Needham Center and takes a right, that they're not banging into a car and then doing a quick left when a car might be coming up. Or, you know, somebody's coming up Marshall and veering to the left because they're, you know, cars parked here. And they're veering here and all of a sudden somebody's coming around the corner. It's basically like from Great Plain, like 30 feet,
Right.
like right where that tree is. If there was just no parking there, I think that it would be a safer
Yeah.
environment
So the-
for.
So it just seems like from no parking from here to the corner
Yeah.
on both
that's
sides.
well, on
just
both sides.
solve it.
should we remove that sign and then put just before the tree, avoid the roots, but before the tree, so it's that way, both sides, no parking here to the corner, is that? what
I think
we're
that
all
would make
visualizing?
such a difference. I really do.
Let's-
I just think it would.
From the town perspective, from Tom, you know, and also want to.
That's a big issue.
Well, that's a whole different thing. I'm looking at it from a safety point of view. I've
Thank
seen too many scary things.
Thank you, I appreciate
I
it.
can double check, but I think we have a 25 foot from intersection.
I think it's 20.
20?
So this will be a stretch, and I think Lieutenant McGrath can attest to this. I think it should be only about 20 feet, which you put it at the edge of the driveway, maybe at the catch basins. That's where the sign by regulation should go. You're stretching.
It should
it
be,
a little
it
bit.
should be consistent with the bylaw
Right,
and the enforceable language
that's, yeah,
of the bylaw.
the enforceable language of the bylaw says 20 feet from, which is the driveway, catch basin.
Well, unless you do like no parking between signs, because you can get more creative that way to, which is also compliant with the bylaw, but then that's extra signage.
Right.
We'd have to
I
modify.
have a motion. On where the cursor is now, I would remove the sign, the 2-hour parking sign, where the cursor is now at that telephone pole, put no parking here to corner. And from the driveway to the driveway on the right-hand side, no parking.
Essentially where the pole is
With
now.
essentially where they are now, in this section of berm,
Yeah.
where you visible berm,
Oh, okay,
with the okay from the abutter on Great Plain Avenue and the houses affected down where those where the cars are in the driveway.
It's the same house. Here's just the back of that.
Yeah.
And honestly, your suggestion means that my daughter can't park in front of my place. But, no, seriously, given what I've seen, that's okay. She'll park in front of her place.
Have you discussed this with the
You know what I
Borellis? Do
mean?
they
I'm
know?
telling you.
Have you discussed this with the Borellis? Do they know?
Yes, I talked to Matt and Allison about this.
And
Yeah.
they're okay with it?
Well, they don't know what your proposal is, of course.
Well, right, but are they okay with no parking on one side of the street?
I,
As far as you
I don't know.
you
I said I was gonna be coming to this meeting and this is what I was gonna, this is an issue.
We just wanted to voice our concerns so that you were aware there was an issue and then
Sure.
put it in your
we
hands
wanna
in
try to
terms of
figure
what was
out,
the best way to.
So, but we do technically, Lieutenant to make a motion, so we do, from a parliamentary procedure perspective, have to deal with that motion. So just from a clarification perspective, you are making a motion to remove the parking sign, put no parking here to corner on both sides of the 20 feet current bylaw limit, correct? And then on which side did you want to?
No parking on the,
I would actually, well, it doesn't matter, but the school bus comes in, I'm just having seen the school, there are two school buses that come down Marshall and then take a left on Great Plains. So whatever you do, you just have to make sure that the school bus has room.
Do we want to actually, you know what, I'm gonna kind of or pause and do a chair's prerogative, pause on the motion.
No problem.
Which you can't object by parliament, is to can we talk to Shane?
so my only thought is on that is regardless of where, if it's the right or the left, if there's no parking on the right, you're not, people aren't coming into a right-hand turn into traffic. If there's no parking there and people are on the left side, they have a free lane to travel, the bus can navigate that side. It's to not have traffic turning right into traffic.
Okay, I see what you're saying, so, okay, all right.
And I also, I think that, to me, I think it's a good proposal, but I just think it should be subject to the approval of the people who own that entire.
Well, so that's why, as part of that, I was gonna add on to it, that
Yes.
we do need to have the permission of, I would
Just
say,
the
we
Borellis.
try to get as many people as possible.
Right, I'm going with,
I agree, but literally it's like,
Yes, the Brownies will have
Even
to,
if you did it to the tree,
then it's just,
people that were visiting the Borellis could park, because I live in the bottom of their house, that's where I live.
Yeah.
And I think the tree would be fine. It's just that
it seems
whatever
like,
you decide, I think is awesome.
it seems like it makes sense if we're going to do it, that it makes sense to do that whole chunk based on your concerns. So I think we're hearing you and saying it makes sense to do that chunk if we're going to do it. We just need to make
So
sure.
whatever you
and so
decide.
I would make a recommendation, that I'll figure out what to do with this motion. But I think we may want to split the motion, because right now what we can do is say no parking here at corner within the bylaws. Right now on both sides of.
Where they should be,
Where there should
signs-
be,
Yep.
where the signs are, and the removal of that sign. We can then, during this month, have a conversation, actually have them go back and get signatures from, as many people as possible on that road
Okay.
regarding that.
That's what I was going.
And then we're able to kind
That,
of
I was
take
just
that.
saying,
Amend my motion.
What's that?
I'll make a new motion.
God's word.
I'll motion that we put a no parking here at corner on this side. I don't think we need it on both because you have the driveway. It would be
Oh, wait.
not redundant, but,
Right.
so
Where the catch basin is, maybe? Or a little
wherever
further-
20 feet from the
Yeah,
intersection
yeah,
on that
yeah,
side is. Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully it's further than the catch basin.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, look
Yeah,
at the
I'm
tree, where the tree is, I
I'm
think.
guessing.
Yeah.
So if you
That's
can't see it,
Right.
if you could, I'm sorry, we're talking. You can't see it that well, but there's actually a telephone pole right there in front of the tree.
Yes.
You can just, I'm assuming we can still put signs on telephone poles?
Oh, that one's falling down.
We're not supposed to.
Okay, well,
I know,
All right,
but you
sure,
guys
I'll
say
be sure.
every day, right?
And they have to-
it's approximately that location.
Yeah, yeah.
So, all right, so we do have a motion right now that's been amended by the original maker. So Lieutenant McGrath makes a motion to install no parking here to corner on the northern side.
I'll go west side. but-
Yeah, west, is it west? I thought it was February, all right.
Great Plains is east west.
Oh, yeah, good point. West, that's what I meant. Oh, I meant going north, okay.
Right.
So on that side, did you want anything on the other side or not? No, okay, so just right now, and we can do that within the
And
bylaw without
removal
any-
of
Yeah.
the 2-hour parking.
Right, that's-
Yes.
and removal of the 2-hour parking sign. Is there a second? Second, and a discussion on the point.
Just clarification,
Yes.
is the 20 feet from the tangent on Cross Street or from the catch basin? The catch basin is.
It's not clear. I mean, it could be from the right of way or from the road, so
Okay,
it doesn't specify,
Well,
so.
okay, fine.
Let's call it
20 feet might actually bisect Matt's
I think
driveway,
that would make
so
a
I
huge
think,
difference.
I think doing it where the sign is
No,
currently.
that's okay.
I really
It's okay,
do.
I'm just for curious. No,
Yeah,
this is
just
just
for
for
curiosity, got it. So we have a second, any other discussion or point of clarification?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so that passes, so I think we'll do that. I would recommend that if we were to explore a no parking this side, for whatever stretch that ends up being, we want to try to get a petition from your neighbors. You guys would go up and down, knock on doors, get everyone to sign saying that they agree to this. And
I
then,
honestly think that's gonna make a big difference, just that.
okay, I mean, it's so, because,
I'll be watching.
okay, so, but I'm gonna throw this back to you guys to.
I got it.
Yeah, yeah.
To do that, because we wanted, because we've been in this situation before where somebody doesn't want a parking sign or wants one, then we do something and then suddenly there were other butters that said, oh, I didn't agree. And so the last thing we want to do is insert ourselves into it.
I totally understand it. This is
There's-
purely a safety thing. I
And-
just
and that's
saw an
fine.
accident about to happen.
So, but if we want, if we'll let this, we'll monitor this, if it becomes more of an issue, then we need to do a more of a parking, no parking restriction, then you would come back with a petition that has all the neighbors saying they're okay with it. We would then
So
discuss
our
it and
petition would be
recommend.
that they would, only one side of the street would be available for parking the entire street, like maybe
If
down
that's,
to
if that's what you
Gage or
feel is
whatever.
appropriate, yes.
And acknowledge it, then maybe a sign
That's fine,
installed.
but you'll put those signs up so we can
Yes,
kind of monitor.
and say signs
that.
will be put up maybe in front of people's houses, because that's the other thing too, is some people don't like a sign on a pole for their house.
Well, Matt's got the sign there, he doesn't seem to mind.
And if
so
you get to
she
that
doesn't mind it, so.
If you get to that point, you can actually reach out to Tyler and he can get with me and I can help you with the verbiage of it too, because I don't want you to go into something that's not necessarily going to help. So.
All right.
Thank you so much, we
Thank you.
really appreciate it.
Carry
Thank you,
on.
right, thank you.
Town government works.
Okay, so with that being said, since other petitioners are not here, the first committee discussion is the school zone on Highland Ave. And I listen to who was bringing this up.
So I asked to
Yes.
put this on the agenda. Tyler, actually, you actually filled out the paperwork and we got a grant, correct? For school zone signs. And one of the areas that we were looking at for a safety zone or a school zone was Highland Avenue, right in front of Memorial Park. But seeing the law has just changed and we figured it might be better to have a school zone right in front of the Memorial Field, right in front of the high school. So
Would there be a school zone in front of Webster?
Webster Street, we could do a school zone or do a safety
A safety
zone.
zone.
Safety zone, yeah, that's right, but that's the,
Can you
Yeah,
remind
yeah.
the difference between the two, please?
The school zone is a statutory zone. They essentially do the same thing. It's a 20-mile-an-hour zone for a safety zone, the 20-mile-an-hour zone for a school zone. I believe it's from an enforcement perspective, it's a different, it's a different amount that the fine is, but nonetheless, it still would, if someone exceeds, a safety zone is 24/7 and a school zone is for a predetermined time, whether that's time pickup, drop off, early, you know what I mean, whatever it is, predetermined times that have to be either posted or ambiguously stated somewhere. Safety zone is 24/7.
And
So,
also quarter mile,
yes, that's true. Yeah.
where the school zone is just right in front of the property of the school, where the safety zone is a quarter mile.
Is there anything in terms of marking on the ground or anything like that that goes with it?
We usually say school right across the street, and at the limit in the school zone, we have flashing lights
yeah,
coming
that's.
a half hour before and 2 half-hour after school, and it's time to only go off during the school session.
So didn't we have a discussion 2 months ago, since I wasn't here last month, about, maybe it's longer, 3 months ago? About this, and which is which you were recommending, I think Tyler, you were talking about, which was recommended for school zone, which was recommended for safety zone between Webster and Highland, which was which?
So Tom can speak to it, but I think that school zone on the Highland Ave side, on the strip by the Dunkin' Donuts, and then the safety zone on the Webster Street side. So,
Because school zone, because the Highland side is just constantly more traffic anyway, so people go more slowly, is that why?
you want to speak to that? I mean,
I think because it's the longest stretch, so we'd be doing the safety zone, would be in front of people's properties as well. And that's, so it's a quarter-mile stretch versus kids are coming out of school and they're heading over to Dunkin' Donuts or whatever, you know, all the sub shops over there.
yeah, I think,
So they'll be during the day when they are out and about.
yeah, because the problem on Webster is not limited to school hours.
Right.
Right, so that's the point, is you're saying that the problem is bigger on Webster than it is on Highland, because
Right.
Highland is just,
We're mostly concerned with pedestrian traffic, especially without crossing points
right,
for a long stretch.
yeah, it's, Highland is, sorry, Highland isn't free for all the time. But I don't know what you do.
Well, and I think that's part of the longer, all the signals to be done and, cut out.
Traffic calming.
That's a longer plan for Highland to mitigate that from the firehouse all the way to town center. But this would be kind of a stopgap to say that this zone.
Because it does seem like on Highland in general, because it's like a game of Frogger all the time, that people are generally, they drive a little more slowly. It's just a little bit,
Yeah.
there's stores, there are people crossing all the
Yep.
time. People who are crossing are generally careful. They
Yep.
wait till
No
people to
way.
allow them to cross. There's something about, it's almost safer there to cross than it is in the center of town for some strange reason.
Sure.
So I think that makes sense.
And I think Webster, I could definitely,
Webster's horrible.
20-mile-an-hour safety zone.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, they did
Quarter mile.
whatever they can on that side.
Yeah, okay, okay,
My only comment on that, that
sorry.
people react. I think people react differently to school zone and safety zone. I think safety zone is kind of a Massachusetts thing,
Mhm.
whereas school zone is sort of universally recognized. I mean, honestly, if I'm driving through and I'm not from Massachusetts or whatever, I'm not that familiar, safety zone, whatever the hell that is, I don't know. Whereas a school zone, people go, oh. I think,
Yeah,
Sure.
that's fair.
you know,
It's a valid.
it's not
Yeah.
science,
Yeah.
it's just perception,
And
public reaction.
what's interesting, and I'll ask John this, we do currently have one safety zone in Needham already,
Where's
Perry Park. From an enforcement perspective, are people seeing, I mean, are you pulling cars that are going at 21 miles an hour? I know it's, and then B, like, have we seen an increase in the number of cars that are actually speeding there? Like, what?
That's such a weird place for it.
I have to say,
Parking.
I don't think we haven't done directed patrols there.
I mean, it's like a little side street.
It is, and it's by a park, so safety zones were, the intent of the safety zone was to say, we want to put it, instead of reducing the de facto speed limit down townwide, you can do certain streets, et cetera, and you can call them zones and call them out. And they recommend putting these zones near, playgrounds, near, areas of that have children or higher traffic. And so that was put into the use case for this safety zone, but I don't want to put something or have the town put in something that's gonna it's gonna be hard to enforce. People are still gonna drive down there, 40. But now you pull them over.
So based on what Bob just said, I don't know, I am actually wondering, like, I feel like you should deal with Webster first. If you can't address the facility of crossing, and it's just a matter of labeling it differently, I'm not sure it's gonna change the behavior on Highland, but we really need to change the behavior on Webster. So like, is it worth, if we have to,
Flipping it and making Webster the school zone and Highland Ave the safety zone. Just again, talking about the people's reaction to a school zone versus
The issue is the hours. That's the only thing that concerns me about the school zone on Webster, is that if the hours are only during school hours, that's not when it tends to be the worst. What?
Just stepping in, just
Yeah.
switching the hours, like she said, the time or when that's gonna be affected
Yeah.
will be less, when you might need it to be actually more.
Right. But calling it a safety zone is what makes it annoying. Can you follow the safety zone guidelines, but make it go in school zone?
You can't call a school zone 24/7.
Well, you do
So-
on Harris, you do on Harris, but whatever, and we do on Central, whatever. It's-
Well, no,
That's not right.
enforcement wise, enforcement wise, you can't do it. If you, I mean, I'll speak for the lieutenant here, but at least I know. Where my people do it, you can only enforce the school zone during the school hours and right after. If you try to give somebody a ticket for a school zone thing at 8 o'clock at night, they're gonna throw it out.
Does it come with, does either of them come with anything else that, that, other than a dropping of a, the speed limit and flashing signs? Or does that come with any, raised crosswalks?
That's
or-
separate, that's independent. You could do speed tables on Webster and, whatever vertical controls, you can still do those. It's not, that's separate from the safety zone. The safety zone is only the designation of a certain area that is now 20 miles an hour. It has a beginning and end point, and it's 24/7 exchange of the regulation, regulatory speed limit. Any other controls is up to the town to put on whatever they want there. They could do.
So it seems, okay, so if that's the case, then I think it has to be, if it's only enforceable 24/7, if it's called a safety zone, that's what Webster has to be. And then I think when that's put in, unfortunately, I think it has to be enforced like for a while so that people are pulled over and ticketed regularly until.
education.
Yeah.
Yes, we put up signage and, variable message boards, but there are, several reasons why we have it this way. And one is that we have grant funds to proceed. Second, the gas company is doing work on Webster Street right now, and they are going to be allowing us, well, they're going to give us funding to upgrade Webster Street after it's being said and done. So it will give us an opportunity to look at it more closely and do more traffic calming measures on Webster Street at the same time.
That's
So-
great.
So
When?
so they're gonna be finished in the fall. And so we'll probably talk about next year,
That's great.
yeah.
Okay.
Safety zones a quarter of a mile long.
I believe so.
Now, no matter what way you go on, you enter a safety zone, there's signs at the end saying end of safety zone. Or is there a 30-mile-an-hour sign?
I don't
So
know.
you can resume.
Yeah, no, like there was a school zone. I'd have to look and see. I think there probably is. 'Cause
I
there
think
has to
there
be
is,
some sort of way.
I
to let the
believe there
driver
is
know.
on that.
Yeah.
Appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe there is. on
Yeah,
that.
we marked out on Milford Road, did we mark out the beginning and the end?
I'm pretty sure, there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at Perry Park, we actually striped the side street, made it, the roadway 20 feet with vertical curve on one side and then the parking on one, striped it, and did all kinds of enhancements to
So
slow traffic.
it sounds like, okay, so I think the safety zone on Webster with enhanced control, I definitely think we gotta go.
Yeah,
The controls as much as lights and whatever.
traffic calming,
zones is one thing.
every, yeah. everything.
So the question tonight here and that you want to bring up, Tyler, for this is just to present, or is there a point of discussion or anything that you want, or?
Yeah, we need to draft a regulation for the select board. So that they can proceed with the regulation and they can proceed with the funding.
It was a condition of the grant that, we were granted the signs on the condition that we have to set up this regulation.
Do we have draft that we want us to look at or what?
So Bob is, well, it'll be the standard, school zone, and I don't think Bob's finished it yet.
Got it.
But we'll have it ready for the select board as long as we.
So you want to
proceed.
endorse it, basically?
Yeah, I think it's just to recommend and endorse, that's kind of what we're looking
A
at.
typical
So
recommendation.
we need to make a motion to accept.
Yeah, we would need to endorse the school zone plan on Highland Ave. And formally recommend the school zone to the select board for the regulation change.
I second the motion.
Second, okay, so we have, I'm gonna second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call, yeah,
Question, the northern limit of that zone is the color yellow, the orange, just on the southerly side of the of Rosemary.
Mhm.
Is that the limit? Because I mean, there's the library. I know it's not school, but I don't know where the sign, any idea where those signage start?
it would start at, it looks like it would start at the yellow, it wouldn't, like, it wouldn't be on the other side, 'cause I know there's a library there and there's a Sunday crossing that happens there, so they.
The zone has to stop though at the.
No, I know, I'm being tongue in cheek. So yes,
I also don't think that's the problem exists on the other side of Rosemary so much with the students.
Well, the point is, what I'm just wondering is that just with pure visibility, that when you come to the intersection and then you're seeing the school zone, you have a lot of visual stuff going on in front of you. Because you go down a hill, you go on through
Yeah.
synchronized intersections, are you going to see all that sign stuff? Shouldn't it be, should the signage be prior to the intersection?
oh, maybe school zone ahead, it would be somewhere, you know,
Advance should be
Advance.
on the other
Because
side of
you're
the
coming through a lot of stuff.
intersection.
and that's part of the whole school zone, like, that's, you can do an advanced
Yes.
wording on the library.
After we vote on this, I have another just related question, but we can go.
Any other discussion? So the motion's been seconded, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion passes unanimously, as a recommendation of the select board.
Question.
Yes.
So in doing this on Highland, is it possible, you know, the parking lot, the lower Needham High School parking lot?
Yes.
Is it possible to make it so they cannot turn left out of that parking lot during school hours? It's so their kids that come whipping out of there, turning left out of the parking lot. And they just cut people off continuously. It's actually something I meant to bring up a bazillion times and I just remembered.
Is there no left turn out of the parking lot already?
No.
Oh,
So.
It's a good idea.
To Rebecca's point, has there ever been discussion about making that entrance, only an entrance?
I don't think any of it.
I think that's where we're heading in this concept, but that's a good idea.
The problem is.
I didn't even know.
Entrance only.
Yeah.
It's crazy to try that.
So the problem with making it an entrance only is
Yeah.
that Rosemary's one way, so that you have a huge backup of kids leaving there.
Yeah.
But if they can leave and at least leave from both, so the traffic then flows at the traffic light, whether you go this way, you can turn right, or you go this way. You know, because you could turn right at the light and then turn left, or you can turn right and then get left somewhere else.
So are you proposing, I'm not saying it's a motion, but are you proposing to do a limit, to no left turn all the time or no left turn during a specific time?
No left turn out of that parking lot, I think in general. I think it's just so, the way that the angle of the driveway is dangerous and where it is, its location in relation to the traffic light.
Yep.
Is just terrible. So then they're just constantly whipping out of there and just cutting people off continuously.
Do we have authority over that? That just
No, it depends
on
about,
that part, on that
because-
parking lot?
I don't know if we do.
yeah, I think it's trustees of the.
Memorial Park
Memorial
trustee.
Park, yeah, it might come around.
That's my guess.
Yeah, no, there's possibility.
So is that part of the rec?
No, it's actually separate. Yeah, there's a separate commission. We can certainly recommend it and we can make a motion to recommend, and we would have to go probably for them to.
The high school students are asking for ability to access the, or, you know, get out of the parking lot quicker. They're saying it takes about 16 to 20 minutes to, from the parking spot to get to the road. when they're out of school. and take
From
over
that
the-
lot or from the
No,
upper
from
lot?
upstairs.
From
upper
the
lot.
upper, from the upper
Yeah.
lot, yeah.
Yeah.
That lower lot's the junior lot, and,
They also all don't need to take their own cars to school. I mean, there's a,
I brought that up to those.
yes, they do not all need to drive to school. There are plenty of other options.
I'm glad you brought this up. Let me do some.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk to Fred at Parks and Rec. There's a couple people that I can talk to the commissioner, find out, A, whose jurisdiction it is, and then B, we can work on something at least make a recommendation, but that would be a regulatory change. Yes, and, for next meeting.
I think that's a good idea.
Which will be in June, by the way, because there's no May meeting. Just so you know. So,
Jeff and I have to leave.
All right.
I can only sit with Jeff.
no, I know, I completely get that. All right, thank you.
Thank you,
I hope you feel better.
thank you.
And you can park, we'll figure out that. Closer. All right, so we've done that for the school zone data map. Which I know last, we were talking about this, we brought this up last meeting and not everyone was here. Did you want to talk about it or?
Yes. Another regulation, you want to go first?
Yeah, so Dedham Avenue, I think Bob, I'm not sure if anyone has a mapping, but showed,
I can find it.
yeah.
I have it somewhere.
Okay, there are sections of Dedham Avenue, that are 40-mile-per-hour zones.
That lady came in. When that lady came in.
Yeah.
last time.
So what I believe the requirement is now that we can, change the speed limit back to 30 miles per hour. Select board, if the select board chooses to accept that, they would have to document that it's in the best interest of the town, certify that and send it up to the state for approval. I've reached out to Raj at our District 6, and he wasn't quite sure of the process on how they're going to review it. So they may accept it, or they may ask for more information. He doesn't know. He's not in this week to follow up on this, but I sent him an email today, asked him if he could follow back up on this, because I think we're preparing this regulation for something to consider. So
So is that the same thing for Central?
Similar.
same thing for Central. Central is, there are sections that are 30, 35, 25, all areas. There's an area right in front of North Hill that has been kind of problematic for some of the residents and for, so they're seeking for mechanisms to improve safety. One's the traffic calming measures and line striping. We're looking into that. North Hill has to do some work on their property, but we're looking at having them have one exit, one lane exits or the 2 lane exits, because apparently some people can't see as they're turning and cars are coming to stop, stops quick. So that's the same thought for Central Avenue in that location. Best road to Horace. That's what we're looking at.
Is it, so I mean, that sounds great. Is it possible, so we're talking about 30 miles an hour for both streets?
Yes.
And just in those stretches, we're not, or it's, oh, it's
Can I see
already.
which, or is it the entire thing?
That map is entire, I believe.
Yes.
Were we also talking about the confusion of where it becomes 25 here? Did we change that? Where there's like this little teeny stretch of 25? Sorry,
Yes. I'm getting ahead of that,
So you're pointing at
Yes.
Central, right?
I'm
yeah,
pointing
it's basically from,
Well, let me, before we do that, let me just, do we need to do anything for the data map? Are you seeking something from
I think it was the interest of a lot of the committee members last
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah, I think it's just informational.
informational? Okay,
So the question I have, so another question I have about both of these, but particularly Dedham, because of Central, it just doesn't feel in this stretch of Central, it doesn't feel like 30 miles an hour is a stretch. There's just so much happening there, and it feels like it's windy and narrow enough, and you already have the, what's it called? The shoulders, the striping that makes the
Yep.
bigger shoulders there, but for Dedham, it just feels like it's so fast all the time. Is there any striping that we can do that, you know, that can add to the traffic?
Do you want to talk
calming?
about the maintenance? Yeah,
So
that's
one
fine,
is
fine.
to drop it to 30, the tire length, and that'll come back to this committee and go through the process. Mascots reached out to us. They have a pavement maintenance program for numbered routes. It's 135, the entire stretch of Dedham Ave. The proposal was to mill and pave Dedham Ave in 2023, this construction season. When we met with them last fall, we also said it's mandatory through MassDOT that you also put in the wheelchair curb cuts along the whole stretch, 20 something, close to 30. They have to agree to it and have to pay for it. MassDOT reached back out to us recently and said, we would prefer that we would give them the money and we could, therefore, you could do other enhancements, traffic calming measures that they will not do. We were gonna do that, try to coordinate. So we're going back and forth, and because of recent events, I think the DPW is gonna recommend to Town Hall that we enter an agreement where they hand over the reimbursement if they meet certain targets. And I think that's really good for Needham. It's good for MassDOT because we'll do the work with our current contractors. And if we take money, we can also stripe it to 10-foot lanes. MassDOT engineering, even though it's legal to do so on arterial, will not do it. Their policy is still minimum 11. And that's problematic going under the railroad bridge to accomplish what we want to do with the wider sidewalk. So we're at a conflict. If they give us the money, we can meet all the regulations and do a lot of traffic calming and have better coordination. And then we'd actually mill and pave it next year because we just got word from Eversource Gas that they're going to do 2,000 feet of work. So the project would be killed. I haven't talked to MassDOT about that. We just got that. We figured
It's
out. We said, oh, we're gonna do the road this year, and oh, we want to fix the main. So we could do all the curbing, ramps, sidewalk improvements as our community. And that's the correct timing to do that first, all the shoulder work, curbing, ramps. And then next year, mill and pave it, stripe it with all the traffic calming that this committee's talked about. And I think it's pretty much an agreement to try to pull those traffic lanes into 10 feet. And that would work going under the bridge
Okay, that's
with a
great.
wider sidewalk.
And then is there, once we do that, and I don't want to get ahead, and I know there's so much to cover and I have to leave, which doesn't help, but is there the possibility of once you enter a certain circle, a certain like circumference around the center of town, that can all become 20 miles an hour? Do we have a future where, like, my son goes to school in Concord Center. So I drive to Concord every single day. And the speeds are much lower driving into the center from Route 2. And then once you're in the center of town, it's 20 miles an hour everywhere. And I just feel like it's at the point where they have cockamamie crosswalks, literally throughout town, there are crosswalks everywhere, and people stop. Every 10 feet, people stop, and it's like living in a different planet, it's not that far. So I just wonder, is there a future where it just feels so pedestrian safe that people are walking, it feels like Highland, where people are walking across the street and somehow it's okay.
So engineering can talk to it too, but from my perspective also, we're talking about village concepts. A lot of communities appreciate that.
Okay.
So it's not all about traffic speeds, it's the exact opposite and multi-use. And I think a lot of members are looking in that direction. That I think that would be a safety zone.
Yeah,
That's the safety zone, so you could create downtown as a safety zone, could enforce it. And the new concepts that are coming out for Great Plain Ave, there's a lot of potential changes to the original draft plans that were done by Beta. So we're looking at really blowing it up, we're looking at everything. Adaptive signals, speed reductions, whole different types of marking, shorter distances to cross. don't have them at the Apex, which is
But when?
longer distance.
So after last year, we're doing a total reboot, because we heard, that the plan that was developed over like 10 years ago, under a certain amount of phases, that people were saying that, well, that was 10 years ago, we have different ideas. There's a push for, more, pedestrian and bicycle access, and, so that's going to be looked at. I think the thought is we're gonna, approach several of our consultants to do, some concept plans and kind of do a selection versus, you know, how, in which direction, is probably the people who want to go, head towards.
I'm personally in favor of that, but blowing it up, getting concepts, and having the public vet that in this committee, pedestrian committee,
Yeah.
and put it back out, and get what the town wants. Yeah,
But when?
that's gonna take time, otherwise it would go to the old design that, apparently most people are currently not happy with.
Right, then you end up with Adirondack chair debates.
It's good, no, I mean, the downtown is, I mean, it's years away, but still, it's, honestly, I'm glad the plan was torpedoed.
No, I agree, I totally agree, it's not, yeah, I agree. But so, but it would be just be nice if it didn't have to take another 5 years to make it happen. I know I don't have a full appreciation for the whole process you have to go through, and I appreciate that I don't have an appreciation for it, so I'm sorry for that. But it just feels, it's amazing how long.
So, you know, the original plan took years to go through because there were multiple, committees to meet with. You know, first it was concepts and multiple committees, and then we started off with Chapel Street doing the water main. And while we're doing the water main, we're blowing up the sidewalks, so we might as well match up. So so that took more meetings in order to, just to do that little section. That was 2007, 2008. And then when did we get a chance to start phase one, 2017?
Right.
You know, you're talking, yeah, it does take a while.
So anything you need from, this is the committee discussions for Dedham, and anything you need from the committee for.
Just looking, well, if anyone wants to make a motion to go with the regulation, or whether we want to mull it over a little bit, we're ready to proceed.
Well, I think we voted on the school zones, that's fine, and so Dedham is, just for me to clarification in my head, Dedham is the drop to the, and I think the drop to 30 should still happen regardless of whether the construction, especially with this new delay, I know we talked with Jackie, like about a month ago. Oh, she's on, I know she's.
Do you want to make a motion? I believe so, do you want to?
Yeah, well, does Jackie need to say, I want to give her an opportunity to actually say something. If she wants to,
I've been watching.
if not, then we can have her raise her hand if she wants to. So I think we would need to make a motion to make a recommendation, and I will make it to the select board to remove the 40-mile-an-hour speed limit and default back to the de facto thickly settled speed limit of 30, which is consistent with the regulation in Massachusetts, allowing us to do so.
Should it be a limit?
The limit is going to be sorry, Mike.
The length, should it be a limit? From where to where?
I think it's of it's the 40-mile-an-hour zone, so I think it's from the
River to Bradford Street.
river to Bradford. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll second that motion.
And seconded, and are we discussion? Hearing none. Hey, I want to make sure. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? It passes, so we can kind of move forward with that. Central Ave is to just to change all of the, sometimes 20, sometimes 25, sometimes.
Yeah, no, that was just to tie the section from
That's
Jasper
what it's
to Florence.
getting there.
After the
That's
first
fine.
mile
So
zone,
this is, that
Which
was,
is currently what?
okay,
it's 35.
Thank you.
Got it. Okay, okay. So do you need a motion for us to do that? Or,
Yes, so if we want to entertain that motion as well, in order to reduce this.
I will entertain a motion. Anyone would like to make a motion Bob makes a motion. This would be from, or do you not make it?
Just motion to accept the proposal is written.
Motion to accept the proposal is written for the change from the 35 to 30 there in that.
That's that section.
Yeah, just that section. Any discussion on the matter? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Excellent. We can go forward with that. And then an update on the redesign of South and Webster.
Thank you. This committee's met, had petitions come before it. We've received a lot of emails. It's going back, I would say at least 15 years to do something with the sidewalk. It just dead ends. I don't know if you can. So in the blue would be removing that. Currently, it's a wide open intersection. And then we would pull it in to tighten it and regroup the sidewalks. This is a concept plan. I'm also more in favor of rotating the ramps so it's a shorter distance and better visibility. So we'll tweak this plan, sure, but it pulls in the intersection on 3 sides in particular to slow vehicle turning movements, number 1, and to recreate the sidewalk more in alignment to get down to Fox Hill, across South Street, and it pulls it in and total realignment. Everywhere there's a sidewalk with several hundred feet opposite the new subdivision, the entire house 531 would go beyond that property and remove the sidewalk, tighten the street in all the way back to where it says match existing curb line to the top of the screen. And then the sidewalk would be moved forward along the new edge of road, which is all curving. Proposed to take Webster Street, I always call it Webster Street Extension that goes down to Fox Hill. It's 36 feet wide. Proposal is to make it about 30 feet, which is still super wide. Allows parking for the school bus stop on Webster, which is, I think, north the house, it says 1200 down there. To avoid, back a certain distance from the curving from South Street. That whole sidewalk would be reconstructed. In the future of the town, we can't plow it right now. There's no wheelchair access. It doesn't meet ADA or AAB. And we would reach the sidewalk down to Fox Hill. And in the future, we would have adequate crossing, safer crossing, improved visibility for all users, the vehicles to see the pedestrians to see the vehicles. And then the town would now plow down to Fox Hill to provide access for people that want to block out of there in winter season. And that's just a summary of,
And we're having a site visit meeting, right?
yeah, so we're doing mailings to everyone in that subdivision and all the abutters, and I think the last petitioner that was 2 houses down. But mostly, and it'll be on site visit. We're mailing it out this Friday. Site visit is proposed for April 27th, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And the meeting point, a rally point, would be Webster Street at Fox Hill. So that there's not a bunch of people parking up there. So we meet at the bottom into the subdivision, have a conversation, a meeting, discuss this plan, and then walk up to the intersection. And by the time that meeting takes place, we're hoping to have it remarked so everybody can visualize it if that's possible. And highway, last year, and we'll do again, we'll put out some cones. We did that last year. We observed it in morning, rush hour, evening. It seemed to work beautifully. And that was done internally by our engineering, so we can get it done. It's not a consultant design. We tweak it. Any recommendation from KIT committee members, we could.
Yeah, I mean, I won't be able to make that site visit. I'll be traveling for work, but I'd encourage anyone else who wants to attend, I think, do so.
Terrific.
All right, excellent. And that was just information update, right?
Information update.
There were, I think that was the last item. I had one other. Right, so there was one thing that just made me think about something this was about a year ago, I think, that came to the committee, about, the road, the dog park. Pine Street, but it's the one-way saga. I know that we were at one point thinking about, obviously geometrically, I know that's a long-term, to fix the 90-degree, the entrance or whatever. But is there any way that we can put a do not enter on the pavement? You know what I mean, I know we have it on the signs, but a lot of people don't either see that, either they come in and they're taking the right into, I don't know where they're entering from, whether they're entering from going straight into where the exit is, or whether they're coming from taking that turn, and getting into Pine.
From Charles River Street.
From Charles, yeah, so, yeah, so if they're either coming and taking that right all the way around, something on the ground to indicate, do not enter, big,
Want to Google that?
the first
Google.
application of salt will kind of
You
get rid
Google
of
that?
everything, but.
Sorry, what is
Pine Street, Charles River.
Yes.
Because I know we talked about before, I know that we sent the petitioner back home saying there's gonna be long-term improvements, which is fine, but I think it was also mentioned that you may be able to do some sort of cheap sign marking, or, either signage or marking on the ground. Because I went to go to the dog park and I almost had a head-on collision with somebody who was coming up Amazon truck.
Which.
This is that area, that.
Pine Street at Charles, if you dump it onto Charles near Pine. Not dump it, drop it. I got that little guy right there.
So I don't think people see the do not enter.
There's a lot.
I think
It's
people-
possible. Is everything on the other side?
They go to the other drive.
One way and do not enter is on the same side, sign post.
So I don't think people are actually coming through this way, because there's two do not
Yeah,
enters,
yeah.
there's the one ways here. I think because the way this is angled, and it's just out, and people are coming in this way. I don't know, though, I'm just,
Are they just sneaking into the dog park?
I don't know.
Because my only thought on that is.
Just down there for a
Should
second.
probably be
And
limited.
then turn it back and look.
People coming up Charles River to take a right on the Pine would probably be a small fraction of people, because
no, you're right,
I don't know
no one
why
goes to the
do
dog park.
that.
I mean, you can ask your ACO, no one goes there. But, so, and people I've seen was like FedEx drivers or was it Amazon the other day, and I think, I didn't realize how many one-way signs were placed on there by the town, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Coming out of driveways, I guess.
Along the way.
Is it, I don't GPS myself up there, is for some reason, is it indicated as a two-way street? So you'd have your prime,
Yeah.
those drivers thinking it's
I don't
two-way?
I think it's,
I think, yeah, I don't know.
I think people know where the park is.
So
and
Pine
just wanna
Street's
turn on
designated
and go
one
to
way,
the
but I'm
dog
not
park.
sure that little stretch is.
So
so
this one may go. And then,
And then they committed and, yeah, right there. So it's funny, but if you go back to the map, there's nothing even on the map right there that says that piece is not two-way.
Just no right turn.
You can take a.
No right turn,
turn.
no right turn.
Yeah, no right turn. I know it says don't enter, but it's,
Yeah, no, I mean, that's.
no right turn is pretty self-explanatory.
And I don't know, like, and maybe we need to, maybe we talk to some of the residents down there again, to see where these people are coming from.
I know they're saying that, yeah, it happens more than you think.
Oh, I mean, where that car is, we could just block that off and then make this for 90 degrees so you can take a left or right. 'Cause there's a hydrant there.
Force people to take a left.
Drop a Jersey barrier right there and the other way. I mean, bang, there. You got it now? I'm not kidding.
Oh, so everyone then goes basically there.
Or we could do either one, because that's
Right.
more 90 degree, and then they could go left or right.
Yeah.
And we could widen it a little bit but have it one way and then you take left and
I
right.
think enough for trucks to turn, but
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
If maybe you guys, I know you've been doing some great things with like cones for temporary stuff to see if it helps. What if you did for a few weeks or a month and just take your cones, create a temporary cone island there where that black car is, and just take away that other lane with the cones, make the graphy area sort of bulge out there, and see if that fixes the issue. And if it does, we can talk about some more permanent sort of, whether it be markings or flex posts or something to, I mean, so that you make it one lane. Right now, it's two lanes.
we were drafting a plan. Well, I'm not sure you remember this.
I don't recall it myself. I don't think I was as involved in this as.
There's enough
On
real
both
estate where
sides.
that black car is, just to remove everything to the right too, and that forms 90 degrees, so they go left and right.
Great and nice island.
And,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty easy solution. If we remove where the car is, we have to try to align it for 90 so they can take a left.
So they let the car come up where it is, but block off the other half of that. Make it, so, all right, I'm not speaking clearly.
No, I think, I know what you mean. Yeah.
For a one-way arrow.
Take some cones and bring them out to here like this.
Yeah.
Right here. So you're going like this with the cones, so that when you come down, you're seeing the cones.
Right.
Which now says, oh, what's going on here? And then you're gonna see the signs. And with the idea that if it works, then you figure out something more permanent to bulge this out here. Is that?
And leave the one to the right the way it is.
Yeah, leave the one to the right the way it is, because you want, what I'm thinking is if you force them to the left, then they lose their sight line.
I agree, the sight line to try, for those who wanted to take a right into here, if we put the one-way sign, currently it's difficult because of the
Right.
curvature.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So I think we want them further to the right.
Yep.
Rather than to the left. And especially this year, I mean, all the foliage is down, but in the summer months when it's
You can't see it, right?
overgrown, you're gonna have to pull out now to see around to the left.
Because I think that's where people are coming. I mean, like, I don't know, unless they're blatantly like just driving straight off Charles River, straight in.
I think some people may know the dog park's right down there, and we're just gonna cruise in on this side.
But if there were more dogs, the dog park, I would say that probably would be a plausible scenario, but given the fact that there's no.
So do you want, would the committee would like to, we could put an arrow here and another sign, but you can't see it when the foliage comes.
Right.
Is the curvature.
There was some sort of advanced, like, some sort of.
On that side of the island, we could get 90-degree in. Change where you were just saying the cones, remove all that stuff and just make it a 90-degree exiting here, signs on both sides. As well. And that's not heavy construction, we could do that internal.
You're saying take the complete access off that other side, so it's literally at 90 on the Charles
Is
River.
that somebody's house or driveway or anything there?
No.
No.
I would, we could do either way, whatever the committee thought. but
there.
A lot of people do that and they get the angle to,
So why don't we say then,
This hydrant.
why don't you guys report back next meeting, which by the way is 2 months?
Yeah.
And then, we can kind of go from there. Is that?
yeah, do some concepts
Just
of it.
figuring out what the best, because I don't know, it's not up to us to tell, like, me,
Yeah.
whether coming on the 90-degree or the right or left, that's,
So
you guys are the experts.
we'll
So,
get some plans and then come back to the committee with concepts for us to look around.
yeah, perfect.
Yep.
So, any other, anything else? All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Chacolo, Superintendent Chacolo, motion second by Lieutenant. Discussion, all in favor? Abstain? No, yeah, everyone's, all right.
Yeah,
We're, no.
okay. Bob, will you get us some